Hey, YouTubers, Tazman here, bringing you another bonus video from my Fantasy Grounds Unity from the Ground Up series. And this video, I think it might go, well, I might try and get it out today or tomorrow. So maybe you'll find it on one of the character creation ones. It might go on the cleric or maybe the sorcerer. I'm not sure. But you'll see here we actually have all our characters created for our campaign. But I was thinking some things that maybe we want to also add into the character creation would be adding these special effects. And if you don't have the, I think it's like 30 or some odd dollars to get the Rob 2E spell effects for all the class features, the feats, race traits, and spells, um, there you can make every one of these. Everything that you need is actually within Fantasy Grounds. You just have to think of how it would apply. For example, when we were doing Dutheon here, who is a dwarf, he has something here called Dwarven Resilience. Which is right here. And it simply states that you have advantage on saving throws against poison, and you have resistance against poison damage. So there's a couple things you could do for this in order to set it kind of so it's automated. You drop the effect on your character and stuff. And if you look here, we can see Dwarven Resilience right here. If we click on the little magnifying glass, we can see here's the coding behind it. If we click on that, we can actually see. So when we were doing the, oh, I guess maybe, have we done that yet? That might be in the cleric one. We talk a little bit about how to, I'm just trying to think, give me a second. So not sure if you watched the video yet. Maybe it's actually coming out today, tomorrow, or something. But anyway, so the way you format these things is you would say Dwarven Resilience and then a semicolon. And this is just the simple description of the thing. Then you have conditions here. So you have resist poison. Resist is a keyword, and poison also is a keyword that Fantasy Grounds knows about. Then saying advantage on saving throws versus poison. So this is more or less more of a description, I guess. So the semicolon's how you separate the fields. The resist poison's right here, but it doesn't look like there's a way you could actually code currently how you could say, okay, advantage on saving throws versus poison. Because when someone's doing poison damage, you're doing a saving throw. The saving throw doesn't actually know that you're getting poison or whatever, right? So then the next thing is the duration. You have one round basically for 1 minute. So you'll see it says 0 minutes because nothing's there. 1 hour, 1 day, and back to 1 round. So this is how long it lasts. This is who it targets. So if you just click on that little icon right here, it will just apply it to Dutheon himself. And then it expends never, which means you can click on it, multiple times without having to have a short rest or anything else. Your other options here is on the next action. So this stays on you for 1 round. The next time you have an action, it goes away. On next roll is the next time you roll. Once per modifier. I don't know how to explain that one. And then never, which means you just put it on yourself and it just stays on until you remove it. So we don't have Dutheon in here. Can I do it from the portrait? I can actually. So if we click on this, we'll actually see what it does. You'll see here it says it gave us Dwarven Resilience, which is resist poison. So this means if someone does an attack to us and it says it's a poison attack, resist means it'll automatically half the damage, right? And then this, like I said, is something you just have to remember that, oh, well, I'm a dwarf, so if I have to make a saving throw, I need to click advantage and then do my constitution saving throw. And wow, what a saving throw. 15 plus 5. So this is kind of this part. What I wanted to point out is how you actually create an effect. So I'm going to actually probably create just a blank guy here just so we can not screw any of our other people up. So when you want to create an effect such as Dwarven Resilience or something like that, what you would do is you would come to the Actions tab after your character is created, you go to Edit List, and you create a new power, right? Then you can go ahead and turn that off. This is where we could actually say, would be RAC, racial traits. Now this part is completely optional. We'll just give it a new heading. So if we click over here, you'll see it changed to racial traits so that we can kind of keep them sorted. Then if we want to call it DWARVENRESI, how do you spell Dwarven Resilience? RESIL. Actually, let's do this. I never profess to be a very good speller. In fact, we could even just do this. Click on that. Highlight. Control C. There we go. I don't even know that you had to actually click on that. No, you didn't. Okay, so if we go in here now, we can go and we can do that. Now I think we did do the potions with our very first person, which was Dutheon, right? Let's just say test PC. So this is our test PC guy. So what you would do next is, one, this right now is just simply an item. It's a power. You could add information, casting time, components that are needed. Basically, it's just a spell. But we don't want it to be a spell. So what we do is we right click on it, and you can see here we have options of adding an action, reparsing the spell actions, so that will, in case it missed something, you can tell it to reparse. We can create an item, which is a weapon. We can delete it. We want to add an action to this. We want to make it so that this actually counts as something. So we can say add a cast, which means it is actually a spell that does attack damage or something. We could make it so it's just a damage itself. So this would be the cast or the attack itself. This is the damage. This would be if it's going to heal, and this would be an effect. And this is what we want for Dwarven Resilience because it is an effect. So once we click on that, you'll see now it turned into a magnifying glass, and we actually have the effect right here. We click on this magnifying glass, and now we get that same type of window. So like we said before, we just do our Dwarven Resilience, a semicolon, and then we type resist. And we're going to go over in just a minute all the different type of things, but it's all uppercase, R-E-S-I-S-T, like so. So it's all uppercase. And then what we do is put a colon, and we give what the modifier is. Right, so the modifier in this case would be poison, and that actually is all lowercase, P-O-I-S-O-N. And then we want to say how long it lasts. So we want it to last 1 round, or do we want it to last forever? Well, this probably, I think if we leave it blank, it doesn't matter. Our target is ourself, and the expending is never. So now that we've done that, you'll actually see we have created our own effect. And if we click on that effect and we have our guy in the combat tracker, you will see that it also works. Resist poison. And if I don't have any way of attacking for poison, she might have poison splash. Let's just double check. Oh, there we go, poison. So let's add her to the combat tracker too. We will go ahead and have Josette be the set person attacking test PC. So there you can see it. And then if we come here to poison spray, and we'll just say we rolled it fine. Go ahead and roll it. You'll actually see the damage you can see was, what did we roll it to? Oh, well, we don't have any health, so yeah, instant death. But you can see it's partially resisted. Let's go ahead and give us some health so you can actually see it do half the damage. Let's go ahead and main and give ourselves like 50 points of damage. That works. And then we'll do it again. So now she's going to poison again, make sure target is still there. Go ahead, do poison spray, and you'll see she rolled a 7, and damage was actually 3 because it's half of it. What it does is cuts it in half and then rounds down. So damage is 3 because it resisted. So that just gives you an idea of how to actually set up effects. Now in our cleric video, actually it's just before we start doing the sorcerer, I remembered that we did not add a shield to Mercy, or well, we didn't add a shield, and we also didn't add the effect for her to stow her shield. Because if she's going to use her crossbow, that's a two-handed weapon. So if you look here, two-handed weapon, technically that means she should put away her shield, which means she should also lose 2 points from her AC. Now, because of an effect, I mentioned that it doesn't actually remove those points. You don't see it, but it does do it, and we do show that it does it. So if we go in here, we can see it's simply stow shield. The code itself is AC:-2, so we're subtracting the 2 that the shield gives, and it applies to herself. You'll notice we didn't actually put the self. That's automatically added from in here. And it lasts for 1 round. So this would mean when she's going to use her crossbow, she should stow her shield, which will take her AC down until her next turn automatically. At the end of the round, it will actually go ahead and give her back her shield bonus. So let's go ahead and just talk a little bit about what all these different things are, because there's a ton of them. You know, you have your default effects by clicking effects here. You can see things like being blinded, intoxicated, and things like that. So for example, blinded, if you click on blinded and apply it to our test, I don't know if you could do it here. I don't think you can. But for example, not the party sheet. For example, if we blinded our test PC here, you'll see it gives the effect blinded. However, there's some coding behind that, and I don't know if it shows you here. Actually, I guess it's because she's doing it. Josette blinded her. Blinded test PC. So let's go look at, this is a hard-coded thing. So let's go look at the code behind that. The way you can do that is first you want to go into Google, because Google is your friend. Type Fantasy Grounds effects coding, and this very first one that comes up, which is the fantasygrounds.com wiki, you will actually find all the effects. Whoops, I already had it pulled up. So in here it kind of tells you what is an effect, automatic effects, creating effects, talks about a lot about what we were talking about. Casting, like I said, this allows for an attack roll, damage does damage, heal does healing, and effect adds an effect to a target. If we go down here a little further, we can see all the code behind those main ones. So we had blinded. What this does is it grants advantage on attacks. This means anyone attacking you, and I believe, I'm not sure if it's written in here, but anything that says grant means it's allowing the not target, it's allowing the attacker to have whatever it says. So here we're saying allow the attacker advantage on attacks. This disattack means on the character themselves, because they're blinded, they have disadvantage on attacks. So if we go look at that in our scenario here with Josette, because she's now blinded, or it is now blinded, if Josette were to do an attack, just a standard attack, did I close out the character sheet? I think I did. Info? Yeah, there we go. So if she's just going to do a regular attack like with a dagger, you'll actually see it rolls with advantage automatically. Now, if on the other hand, it's Test PC's turn, let's go ahead and say next target, and go ahead and target Josette by control clicking on her icon. If I do an attack from my guy here, which doesn't have a weapon, dang it. Let's just give a quick weapon. Let's see, doop. Items. Go to actions. Alright, actions, and it doesn't matter what weapon, let's just give it any weapon. Come on, pull up. There we go. Let's go ahead and let's do a come down here a little ways. Let's get into the martial. Let's give it a battle axe. That sounds pretty nice. Oh, that's just the text. Bing. There we go. Oh, yeah, I did it. So now our test PC here has a battle axe. Because they're blinded, if I roll, you'll actually see I roll with disadvantage, which is still going to be a hit, which is excellent. So then also, this is where, for example, if I had a weapon here that did poison damage, like if we came into here, for example, with our dagger, and we said damage piercing, common POISON or something like that. We'll have to remember to remove that, by the way. Now, if she uses her dagger on test PC, you'll see it automatically gets partially resisted because of that poison. Alright, so let's just go look at that web page a little bit more and get an idea of the different types of things you can do with effects, because lots and lots of things are done with effects and they change the way the characters react with the game. So let's see here, go here. Alright, so we have, for example, with blinded, disadvantage. Charmed, this is something that is just an effect. It's simply a note. If we go look at Charmed, it's going to simply be the name. So remember where we were creating our own, we had the description called Dwarven Resilience, then we did the semicolon, and then we did resist poison. Well, charmed, for example, would just be simply charmed semicolon with nothing after it, because there's actually nothing that the game can do to say, oh yeah, you are charmed. So it acts more as a reminder that you have been charmed. So when you look at your character and see the effects on them, you can go, oh yeah, I'm charmed. Deafen's the same thing. Encumbered is a pretty big one. Encumbered is after you start getting encumbered, which means you're carrying way too much, you get disadvantage on attacks, you get disadvantage on your checks, skill checks and such as your strength. You get disadvantage on other checks like dexterity, disadvantage on check constitution. So these three actually get affected by encumbrance. Your intelligence, of course, would not. You also, then we have disadvantage on save strength, disadvantage on save dex, disadvantage on save constitution. So you can see that this code right here will make it so that your character acts encumbered when it is actually being encumbered. Frightened is going to give you disadvantage on checks and disadvantage on attacks. Incorporeal is going to resist everything. So this is because you kind of take on a different state, all of a sudden you're resisting everything, which means you take half damage on all. So this is, all the types of damage that you can take. Intoxicated, you're going to take disadvantage on attacks and disadvantage on checks. I cannot talk. Invisible is going to give you advantage on attacks. And then you'll notice here's that grant keyword again, saying people that you're attacking, they will have disadvantage on attacking you. And that's probably because they cannot see you. The little parenthesis T here means that the effects can be targeted to only apply to conditions against certain opponents. So you can actually, if someone actually has something like Fairy Fire, they don't actually have it. Or if they have something that lets them see invisible, that means this is only going to be people that don't. Once again, here we have one that actually has an effect that calls another effect. So we have Paralyzed, which takes Prone, which is its own thing, which is disadvantage on attacks, grant advantage on attacks. So when you're laying down, it's easier for people to hit you. But you'll also notice that, and this says grant advantage on attacks melee, but grant disadvantage on attacks ranged. So if you're laying down, you're harder to hit with a ranged weapon, but you're easier to hit with melee. You have restrained, which means you're being held, so it gives advantage on attacks to whoever's attacking you. Gives you disadvantage on attack because you can't move as easily, and it also gives you disadvantage on saves, such as dexterity, getting out of the way, acrobatics, and such. Stable, once again, will just stop you from having to roll your saving throws, and there isn't really a modifier applied to that. Stunned, if you're stunned, it's going to grant advantage to your attackers. Turned, this is nothing mechanically. This is basically if you turn an enemy into a friend, using beast friendship or whatever else other thing you might use. That's what that does. Then unconscious also is a lot like prone, because you fall to the ground, and it grants advantage on attack, which is actually in here, but this is any attack if you're unconscious. So, and then you can see also here, it also says automatically fails saves and dex. So these are the main conditions. And then there's all these different modifiers. So there's this one is for your initiative rolls. This is, we've been looking as attack. This is your armor class. This is your damage. You can actually see them all over here. This is heals. This is saving throws. This is skill checks. Then you have your abilities. You have checks for any ability checks. There's your strength, dex, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and your charisma. Then you have damage types. So DMGO is saying ongoing damage. This would be something like that hurts you each round. For example, if you're standing in fire and you don't get out, each time your turn comes around, it will actually reapply that damage. The damage type, this is the one where we have poison, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, all that fun stuff. Regen is a special one. As you can see, it says regeneration, use and or clause to specify damage types which can overcome regeneration. So for example, maybe a troll would have this on it, where trolls can regenerate their health unless it's with fire damage. There's also immune, which means you take no damage. So if you use the immune with the damage type, or you can even say all and the condition, maybe you can do that. So as you can see, there's lots and lots of these. This gives you advantage on skills checks, disadvantage on skill checks, advantage on ability checks, disadvantage and advantage on saving throws and stuff like that. So this is definitely a really good thing to read and look through. The next area here is special components. So there's actually, if you know anything about programming, there's conditional. So you have if and if t. The if t, I believe, is if target or if test conditions. Not only can if and if t test conditions, I thought it was target if t. Maybe it is. I can't remember what the T stands for now. Why? I thought it was in here. So here's a good example. So if invisible, disadvantage strength, right? Or disadvantage on straight saves. So what this is saying is invisible, they will have disadvantage on saving throws of strength. I don't know why you would have a disadvantage on a saving throw of strength, but that's what they're saying. So anyway, you have these things where you can actually do conditional operators. You're saying if this is true, then do this, otherwise do this, which is the condition or the conditional operator. We have these different conditional operators. So you have, you're checking if the alignment is a certain thing. You're checking if the creature's size is a certain thing, if the type is a certain thing, whether it's wounded or not, if it's bloodied or not. And then there's also custom, where you can kind of customize your own. Then you have down here PC tags and notes. So for example, this is what we do with our stowing the shield. We tell it to go ahead and change the AC down 2 for a turn. So here's some examples. This will give attack +2, save +1, ongoing damage 2d6. So in some cases you can use dice roll for the thing. So that's what these are right here saying. DMGO says it uses D for dice, N is for numbers. Damage type, this doesn't use dice or numbers, this wants words, right? And you can actually see that information. Then the T is effects can be targeted to only apply modified against certain opponents. So I think this kind of really shows you a lot of the stuff. It's definitely worth a read. If you want more specifics on effects and stuff like that, let me know and I will try and do a more specific video. But this is a plethora of information, and any of those, you don't have to buy Rob Toohey's stuff. It's just nice to have it there and you don't have to code it yourself. But this page is very nice. This wiki helps a whole lot to understand some things, and then they give you some specific examples right here, and I think that'll do. We're at about 20 minutes, so I think we'll call it good. So hopefully you guys learned something new, you enjoyed what you saw. If you did, be sure to leave thumbs up down below. It helps me tremendously on YouTube. Aside from that, comment, like, subscribe, click the little notification bell to be notified anytime I upload a new video, and follow me on Twitter, check out my Discord and my other channels. Don't forget about my great big game giveaway. I've been kind of booming in the subs and the gaining of subs, so that might happen sooner than later, which is great. And I am, not only is it the 57 Steam games, but also at least one copy of Fantasy Grounds Standard of the Classic Edition. So not the Unity, but the Classic one. Still a pretty good gift. It makes it so if you want to upgrade, it only costs, I think, like $30. So that's it. And until next time, I'll be seeing you later. Bye.